I'm so sick of this f***ing company. They're trash! Fix the game! It sucks playing this shit! And I'm f***ing addicted! So I can't quit!
See that? That right there is the kind of unhealthy obsession that Riot inspires in their players about their games. And this particular incident happened a whole 9 years after this game was released. Now tell me, aside from Riot, when was the last time a gaming company made you feel that way about a game they released? All the while maintaining mass appeal for almost a decade. My god, I can't believe I'm saying something positive about League. So Riot's really been on the warpath over these last few years. They just keep on picking up W's in gaming spaces that just keep handing everyone else L's. And now they're coming for the MMO genre. Yes, that's right, my children. The prophecy might finally be coming true. We've seen an endless stream of pretenders and charlatans trying to dethrone the dark god that we once called a hero, and none have succeeded. But this time round, it might actually be different. Now, back in the glory days, in either a moment of shining clarity or pure unfiltered irony, even Blizzard saw this coming when they said,
"No king rules forever, my son."
But the real question here is, does Riot's MMO even need to be a WoW killer? And the answer is no. See, it turns out that the only thing that can truly kill or save World of Warcraft is World of Warcraft. And we've really got to watch over these last few years as Blizzard has done everything to Kurt Cobain themselves as hard as possible. But when it does release in the next 50 years or so, Riot's MMO might not have had its finger on the trigger, but it very well might be the one in the hospital pulling the plug on the old man when he's on life support. Now let's go ahead and put all the pieces together and try and figure out exactly what kind of baby rage temper tantrums we're going to be dealing with when the League of Legends players and community finally decide to try out another game. Now the first rule of any MMO out there is that gameplay is king. And you're gonna hear this over and over again in a million different videos that people will make. It's just the truth. So starting there, do you know exactly how many original gameplay ideas Riot has had over its long existence in the space? Yeah, that's right. 0. It's just not what they do. Instead, they've become masters of stealing really good ideas and making them into great ones. They saw Dota, they made League of Legends. They saw CSGO and Overwatch, and they decided to make Valorant. They saw Auto Chess and made Team Fight Tactics. They saw Blizzard throwing up a 3-minute cinematic to fix all their PR problems, and they decided to use their cinematics instead to get people to fall in love with their characters and world. And I mean, really, the list does go on. Now, this kind of thieving behavior really does clue us in on what Riot might decide to do with their MMO gameplay. We know it will be something with mass appeal, because if it's not rated E for every penny in your wallet, Riot's not going to bother making it, which means that the mechanics are likely going to be simple to learn but difficult to master to keep both your Wood League retard and your Grandmaster League of Legends faker clone out there occupied and, well, satisfied with the game. To add to that and make sure that they can hit this goal, they've put together a team of veteran developers. There's no amateurs here. These are people who really know their craft. And so far amongst them, the most vocal has been Mr. Ghostcrawler himself, an ex-Blizzard employee who's leaking us just enough information for us to try and figure out exactly what the hell we can expect from this game. Also, with that one being said, keep in mind that Ghostcrawler is now an old man. This is likely going to be the last game he ever makes, so it wouldn't be surprising if he's really trying his best to make this one into his magnum opus. Now, before I go on rambling about why Ghostcrawler was right to hate druids in WoW, let's go through a few more of the significant points that Dear Gregory and a few of the other Riot slaves on the plantation have leaked to us so far. We're also going to go ahead and ignore some of the more speculative ones, at least for now, because they're going to be very likely subject to change. First, we're going to have a heavier focus on the PvE of the game, because that's where 90% of all MMO players spend their time. But this doesn't mean that PvP doesn't exist. It just plays a far lesser role in this game as far as I can tell. This is also intended to be a social game with social features. So you are expected to be social. The focus here is on the multiplayer aspect of their MMO. And as I said in the Ashes video, if you're a single player in an MMO, you're just asking to be fun. They plan to be respectful of players' time, which likely means that the game won't feel like you're picking up a full-time job, only a part-time one. This game is also very likely to have a theme park style, since that's the tried and tested method with the best results in the space so far. And like I said, Riot don't innovate, they improve. So it's very likely we're going to see our stock standard quests, raids, dungeons, and instances in this theme park MMO, which also means that they're likely going to be using the tried and true holy trinity system of a tank, healer, and a bunch of retards that follow those two around. We also know that RNGesus is joining us on this adventure, but to what degree we don't quite know just yet. Let's hope you prayed hard enough to him so he blesses you instead of curses you when the rolls come around. And alongside this, we're likely to see all our other stock standard components that come with your MMO MMO mass appeal Happy Meal. That means fishing, transmogs, professions, adventuring, grouping up for a whole bunch of nonsense. Anything really that you would consider just a basic necessity in your modern MMO. See the rest of the stuff here though? I would put that down more to heavy speculation. Keep reminding yourself that it is early days. We haven't even seen any in-game engine footage yet. So there's a lot that's just subject to change or that we just don't know about. What's worse than all of that is we're making all these assumptions off of a bunch of tweets and posts that are made by people working on the game. Riot themselves are keeping their lips sealed tighter than a nun on Christmas with a secret. And don't expect that to change anytime soon until they've got something that they really feel is ready for display. Then right behind the MMO gameplay is the MMO story and lore. See, you really want people to give a shit, not just about their character that they make, but about the characters in your world and maybe even the world itself if you're good enough at writing. Because the idea here is not to get people to play the game once, put it down and never pick it up again, but to get people to play the game for hundreds of hours, and ideally get them to enjoy playing it for hundreds of hours. And you know, Riot has actually done a pretty good job of setting themselves up for success in this regard. Starting all the way at the beginning of League, Riot has been giving their characters backstories since almost the very beginning. That means they've not just spent 13 years world building, but getting players to actively care about their individual characters and the world they live in. At least, you know, the ones that could read. Now, they've been building on that initial success of League of Legends pretty hard. They retcon and revamp wherever is necessary. They even go out of their way to build entire separate universes just because they can. From spacefaring Guardians of the Galaxy ripoff characters all the way to K-pop characters that look less cringy than the IRL ones somehow. Yeah, that's right, you K-pop fans, you heard me. Oh, what are you gonna do? You gonna throw that bag of strangely shaped door stoppers at me that you all carry around? Just take a moment to think about how much effort they even put into their skins. They are so diverse. They've even got a white basketball player. Tell me, when's the last time any of you Americans watching got to see one of those in action? And then came their show Arcane, that looked like a masterpiece, but was really just another stepping stone along their way to world domination. And yeah, it was actually a pretty good show. But more importantly, it opened up the world of Runeterra to an entirely new audience. So they're not just trying to get a hold of boomers like me and you who are just, cripplingly addicted to these games already. Riot is really trying its best to grab a hold of a whole bunch of young, new groups of gamers and drag them into this pit with us, where there's no escape. See, that audience that watched Arcane probably thought they were gonna scratch that little fantasy itch a little bit more by playing League of Legends. But it turns out League is not like Arcane. It's not like Arcane at all. But there might just be a universe and a very particular type of game genre out there where they can get that same feel in the future. And if I were a betting man, I wouldn't be too surprised if one of those future seasons of Arcane just so happens to line up perfectly with the release of their MMO. Purely by coincidence, of course. Take a look at this world quick. This is all the stuff they've already built and fleshed out. And this right here is what the show Arcane showed us of that world. Not much really. And the best part is you don't even need to imagine how much lore and story there is because Riot's already fleshed that out and you can go ahead and access it at any point in time and start your journey into this world. Runeterra is already a pretty busy place with different cultures and factions and races because what MMO player doesn't love a good race war every now and then? More than that, unlike a lot of other companies out there, their stories and world is nuanced. Noxians aren't always the good guys. Demacians aren't always the bad guys. And the hippy-dippy flower people here actually have a psychopathic serial killer on the loose who pops up every now and then. Most importantly, there's a long and storied history about a certain citrus-loving pirate and his obsession with muscle girls. What a man of culture. Now turn your lore boner from full hard on to half chub. I wouldn't go out of my way to say that this world is as fleshed out or as large and vast as the Warhammer 40k universe, but they're not doing too badly. Give them a few years and I'm sure that they're just going to continue to add more for us. And then mixed in there somewhere between the story and the gameplay itself is the social aspect of the game, where the real soul of any MMO truly lies. See, all these social interactions and experiences aren't really as optional as a lot of the MMO community has just been led to believe recently. You can't really separate this one from the story because what fun is there in experiencing the story and then never sharing that experience with the people you're actively playing the game with? And you can't separate it from the gameplay because the gameplay actively enables you to interact with other people in very specific ways, either very amusingly or very seriously. Now, people might not quite understand why the social aspect is so important, so let me break it down for you. At the end of the day, that legendary piece of gear that dropped for you and that you equipped, that leaderboard for PvE or PvP, all of that is worthless when compared to just chilling with the boys, having a good time. The memories that the game helps you craft end up always being best in slot when compared to some arbitrary number that you built up that's going to be wiped out next patch anyway. These social interactions can make or break the game, and I'm pretty sure Riot is aware of this. As they've shown in the past, Riot is a master of social interactions. But what does this mean for the Riot MMO at the end of the day? Well, now that I've built you up, it's time to knock you down. I want you to listen to these words carefully because you're not going to hear them from people who will overhype this game. It is too early to tell yet. Hey, you remember that multi-billion-dollar company that keeps on throwing endless amounts of money into projects that continually fail on launch? Yeah, me neither. It turns out that endless mountains of money alone are not enough to make a good MMO. So as much as you might want to just start jerking yourself off believing that this MMO coming up is going to be the one that makes Fortnite look like an indie title, I'm begging you, at least try keep a level head. We won't truly know what we're dealing with until it's done and people are already playing it, regardless of what early release talking head rushed out YouTube video that someone like me has shit out at you. Always keep in mind that you can have all the ingredients to make the world's best cake. That doesn't mean that when it comes out the oven, it's not gonna look and taste like hot dog shit. And now for my favorite part of this video, wild and baseless speculations. Okay, maybe a little based, but that part of the video is not for you. It's for these guys. So as always, a big thank to all my subscribers, both old and new. And a special thank to the MMO Oracle Squad who help ensure that this month I'll have enough money to buy a shank strong enough to stand a fighting chance at getting a hold of a bag of airdropped UNICEF rice, and who also get access to these videos before anyone else, and who this time around get the extended cut version of this video. More content soon. Bye.